Thanks everybody for coming to, Jesus, lecture number 16. I didn't even look, but things are moving along. And so this lecture, I think, is the health impacts of cannabis use. And there's, as always, a million things to talk about. And I intend today on digressing a little bit more about what I understand endocannabinoids and cannabinoids do within the body and some of the impacts from that. I think in the past I've focused on some of the negative health impacts in particular, partly because we do lectures on the medical benefits. So today and otherwise, this lecture on the health impacts is not meant to discuss medical benefits in general. Although today and at other times, certainly it's hard not to get into that subject because medical benefits overlaps into many fields. And what is medical and what isn't is also another question to be determined. And by medical, I mean more serious medical problems. Much what I'm going to talk about today is obviously medical and health related. And I thought I'd start with something, in a sense, a little bit funny and yet serious at the same time. As I said earlier, there are some reasons to quit smoking cannabis that are quite legitimate. One of them being that you might be going for a job that you would have to get tested and you might need help. Now, having a program help you, as occurs often in the United States and other places, might not be the best method. In many ways, many cases, it's actually part of requirements of courts or other judiciaries or legal, I guess, bodies where people are forced into treatment in order to avoid other sorts of punishment for drug-related offenses. Now, that being said, and hopefully Dr. Timothy Stockwell will be here on Sunday to truly clarify this. Cannabis can be technically addictive and addicting to some individuals. Now, many in the cannabis movement say vehemently that it is not. The Supreme Court of Canada has acknowledged people with addiction problems as a vulnerable group that they're trying to protect with this law. They also recognized, I think the Supreme Court recognized 5% of people that used cannabis became technically addicted to it. Now, the threshold for what an addict is varies on study to study. I believe that 1 joint a day, according to the 5% that the Supreme Court uses, is technically enough to be considered an addict. Many people that use cannabis wouldn't consider a joint a day to be more than one would need to keep the doctor away. But certainly for those of a sober mind, a joint a day is technically considered to be an addict. Now, the harms that come from being addicted, can vary individual to individual, as in some ways with all drugs. Some individuals, it seems, lose certain not only inhibitions but almost seem to stop, wanting to participate in society as much as they did before they used cannabis. Often this is something that occurs in younger people, though not necessarily. And the reasons for that can vary. Sometimes it may be that the use of cannabis opens people up to the world around them and other people, and it may be that they become withdrawn from the world because they're sensitive to all the violence and harm in the world, and become much more introspective in themselves and much less kind of willing to work for Uncle Sam, as it may be. So there's certain reasons, I think, inherently that actually using cannabis may both appear to be addictive and appear to cause people to be less aggressive or and unfortunately our society really rewards aggression. So, you know, when people smoke pot and become more relaxed and less ambitious to, you know, gain material goods and are more concerned about what their friends are feeling and what their friends have. Well, in today's society, you know, that is not good. Happiness is not the measure that we use to determine a person's value, and for the most part, it's the wealth of their home and car and such. So, you know, but nevertheless, you know, some people, it seems, have an issue with the use of cannabis. I would argue that most people that have severe addictive qualities to their personality that go to use other substances like alcohol and such that are much more destructive. And really, the individuals that do end up just smoking pot all day, every day, and never accomplishing anything more than that are generally really good, really happy people. But in today's society, they're considered addicts with problems that family worries about. Yeah, so anyway, again, I don't really plan on getting a lot into the harms and the vulnerable groups with Health Canada and the Supreme Court, in part because I really prefer to focus a little bit on what we've come to learn about just the general impacts of using cannabis. And so we'll go back a little bit. I don't know all the dates here, but THC was first discovered in Israel, 1965, okay. And after it was discovered, they thought to find out why THC had such a, I guess, impressive impact on various bodily functions. And they discovered, I think in 1991, the first receptors in the brain. The CD1 receptor would have been the first one that was discovered, again by Dr. Ralph Yael McCoolin in Israel. And these things are all through the brain. Not only CB1 receptors, but what are called CB2 receptors. They're just slightly different neurotransmitters. You may think of a receptor as being a baseball glove, is the way I'll describe it. Okay, so these receptors are not only all throughout our brain and highly concentrated in a few areas that are highlighted here, although like